campaign from the American Rescue Plan to give $100 to anyone who gets fully vaccinated.
So for those of you out there who aren't vaccinated, would you get the shot for $100? The White House is hoping that states step up and play ball after announcing a vaccine mandate for federal employees today. I'll speak with the former head of the CDC, Dr. Tom Friedman, about the latest developments from the Delta variant. And I'll also speak with Nadav Kidron, Oramed Pharma CEO, on the production and development of the first oral COVID-19 pill, with test trials beginning shortly. A former Catholic cardinal charged with molesting a 16-year-old boy. The charge is now the highest against a Catholic official in the United States, continuing a string of incidents for the church. The Donlon Report starts right now. Good evening. Great to have you with us. You can lead a horse to water, the saying goes, but you can't make it drink. And that's where President Biden apparently is right now on the vaccine. It works. We know that much, but questions remain among those hesitant to get it. Tonight, they're getting a nudge. There have been pleas from the medical community and elected leaders, public service announcements, stories of people on their deathbeds begging for the vaccine, and yet we seem stuck at a little over 50% fully vaccinated, those 12 years of age and older. Maybe it shouldn't be a surprise. In a divided country, it appears we're about 50-50 even on this. So the president is now issuing a vaccine mandate, although he's not calling it that, for millions of federal workers, and that could include the military. Get the shot or get ready for regular testing. And he's even urging states to offer $100 to get people who get the vaccine paid.
Masking is one defense against the spread of COVID-19. But make no mistake, vaccines are the best defense against you getting severely ill from COVID-19. The very best defense.
Now, it doesn't look like anyone would lose their job as a result of this, more like an effort to make life more difficult for the unvaccinated and encourage them to comply. So we'll see how it plays out. But employees are already pushing back. There are new mask recommendations, even for the vaccinated, new masking guidance for students, all of this culminating in a viral video on social media this week. Here's part of it.
Even if you are vaccinated, you should wear a mask. If, in fact, you are vaccinated, fully vaccinated, you are protected, and you do not need to wear a mask.
Now, there's also bickering in Congress after the top doctor and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi required masks again in the House of Representatives, critics calling it an overreach and a sham.
Just today, we discover that she puts forth this draconian rule that says guests and our staff can be arrested for not wearing a mask. Are you kidding me?
Stop. Just stop with this craziness. We're trying to be safe, trying to protect our family members, our kids.
So still, concerts back in full swing, while some businesses are requiring proof of vaccination. Disney's requiring masks in its parks. There's new guidance for masks for students. There's new talk of booster shots. We have come a long way, but based on where we are today, it sure seems like we still have a long way to go. And that's where we start tonight with Dr. Tom Friedman, who led the CDC for nearly 8 years, starting in 2009. Doctor, it took us a while to get us on your schedule. We appreciate the time tonight. You heard the president there. Do you think these new mandates and incentives will make a difference or work?
The bottom line is that vaccines are our best tool to get past this pandemic. Right now, we're seeing big increases in cases in the U.S. because the Delta variant is more than twice as infectious. That means that we're going to have to double down on protection, increase vaccination, and even for those vaccinated, where disease is spreading rapidly in indoor spaces, wear a mask.
So how do we get there, Doctor? If you were in charge of the CDC still and you had a chance to hold a news conference today and let's say maybe just hit the reset button, what would you say?
Well, first on vaccines, we have to listen. There are a lot of people who still are asking questions. We have to address those questions. There are good answers to them all. That's why I and all of my family are vaccinated. But we want to make sure that people understand that there's no ulterior motive here. Our goal is to save your life and the lives of people around you. We're losing far too many people still, close to 300 deaths a day in the U.S. I think we've gotten hardened to that.
Is this all on the unvaccinated, Doctor, at this point?
You'll hear some talk about breakthrough infections. No vaccine is perfect. This vaccine isn't perfect, but it's a great vaccine. It's stunningly effective, and it drastically reduces the chance that you'll get very sick or die, or spread the infection to someone else who could get very sick or die.
This is my point. If it is on the unvaccinated, and as insensitive as this sounds, and I don't want it to come off that way, but are we at a point where people have enough information now to know, I either want the vaccine or I'm not going to get the vaccine. I'll either wear a mask or I won't wear a mask. And we'll let the chips fall where they may. And those who are taking the chance and rolling the dice will have to pay the consequences.
I don't think so, because first off, attitudes change. We're seeing a big increase in vaccination rates in states having a lot of cases. When you see your friends getting sick and dying, you may get much more interested in getting vaccinated. Second, we recognize that we're connected. So you not getting vaccinated or you not wearing a mask may result in you spreading this infection to an older person or someone with a kidney transplant who could die from it.
Yeah, well, that is the point, is getting that message out. And on that, I'm wondering, it's so divisive, Doctor. Do you ever think in your career that we'd get to this point on a medical issue that's involving a pandemic? I mean, what has this, in your opinion, what's it exposed about us?
You know, the fact is that many public health decisions are policy decisions. They're even political decisions. What's been so disappointing about COVID is that they've become partisan decisions. You know, the only parties here really that should be fighting are human beings against microbes. We should have no difference among us in terms of simple measures that save lives, that protect people, that get our kids back learning in school. We can do it if we work together.
Can vaccinated people get and transmit the virus? We know they can get it. Can they transmit it?
They can. We've seen that recently. It's more common with the Delta variant, but that doesn't mean vaccines aren't working. They're working phenomenally. They're already saving tens of thousands of lives, and the more people who are vaccinated, the more lives they'll save.
Well, we'll see what happens moving forward. Dr. Tom Friedman, again, it's great to get you on the program tonight. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, now, forget the needles. Could getting a vaccine jab soon be as simple as taking a pill? No jab at all. Nadav Kidron hopes so. He's the CEO of Oramed Pharmaceuticals, which has developed an oral COVID vaccine that's set to soon enter the trial phase. So he joins us now. It's great to have you. How is this oral version different than the vaccines that we have now in shot form?
Okay, thank you, Joe. So the oral version is different in two ways. One, which is the obvious one, that you take it orally, and I can explain what are the obvious and the non-obvious advantages of the oral vaccine. But the second thing is that this vaccine is made out of 3 proteins, and therefore it should be giving us a better protection against the variants.
So we know, too, that there is this mRNA technology that's used in at least a couple of these vaccine shots. Is that what you use in the oral version?
No, so we are actually using a VLP technology. So what we're doing, at the end of the day, all of the vaccines work on the same principle. We want to get something small in there to teach the body how to make the antibodies and to be able to protect the body from the attack of the viruses. What we're doing differently is that we are making 3 layers versus 1. So even if the virus can get through 1 level of shield, there's a second level of shield, and even if it goes through that, there's a third one. So at the end of the day, what we're seeing now, the Delta, Epsilon, and the next variants that inevitably are going to reach us, this vaccine that we have is giving us a much higher level of protection against those variants.
So tell us about the trial. How many people are involved, and when does it start, and how long will it take?
Okay, so we took an oral vaccine, and the obvious advantage with the oral vaccine is, number one, you know, a study that was done in the United States, 19 million people said that they would take an oral and they're not going to take an injection. The reason is that you can have less side effects, which according to the CDC, about 9.4% of the people who get the vaccine, they get some side effects, and you're not going to have that on the oral. You don't need a professional to administer it. Everyone can just take it as a pill with a glass of water, and you're done. You don't have the waste, all the syringes and the plastic and all of that. and it doesn't have to be at a freezer temperature.
Right.
So all of those advantages make it something which is very appealing. We've tried it in vivo, we tried it in animals, which was very successful, and we are now going into the clinical trials.
It also makes it very attractive in the global effort, hard to reach countries or countries where they really haven't had access to the vaccine. That's where you're focusing, correct?
Absolutely. Think about Africa. You know, to get something moved from one place to another in Africa, it's 5 times more expensive than in the developing countries.
So can people who have already taken the vaccine use this oral as a booster, presuming you get to the point where these trials have been approved?
So we're now working on 2 parallel tracks as far as the Auramed's oral vaccine. On the one track, and this is our first goal, is to get to most of the world, which is striving to get vaccines. They don't have vaccines at all. And a lot of them are only going to take it if it's going to be oral. We, and it was beautifully said before, we as humans, we have to stand united and to make sure we can overcome this pandemic.
Right.
So our first goal is to reach those who are deprived and not yet have gotten the vaccines. Along with that, and parallel to that, we're also going to go into the developing countries such as the US and to offer it as a booster, because we know that someone who got the 2 shots, they'll be much more inclined to take a pill than to take the 3rd booster.
We're up against the clock, Nadav. Quickly, how long do you think before it's ready?
Well, we're ready. We're going to start hopefully in the next few weeks. We'll start the clinical trials, and we hope to get an emergency use approval in some of these developing countries as soon as we can get it, because the world, as you say, not waiting for us, and the clock is not stopping. So we have to do our best to make this a success.
All right, Nadav Kidron, CEO of Auramed Pharmaceuticals. Thanks for your time. Good luck.
Thank you, Joe.
The COVID outbreak in Major League Baseball now linked to the All-Star game earlier this month. Now at least a dozen members of the Washington Nationals baseball team testing positive, forcing schedule changes. Janelle Fort joins us now with more on that. How's the league managing this, Janelle?
Joe, the best they can. You know, this all started on Tuesday when Nationals player Trey Turner was yanked from the first inning of their game against the Phillies after learning he tested positive for COVID-19. He played in that All-Star game, and now there's speculation that that's where he contracted the virus. So far, we know that 20 people who were in attendance to that July 13th All-Star game have tested positive for COVID. For reference, 49,000 people were at that game, but still, Colorado officials are calling it an outbreak. They're urging anyone, regardless of vaccination status, to get tested if they have symptoms. And since Tuesday, again, 8 staff members and 4 players, including Turner, on that Nationals team testing positive. It's caused their season to go on pause as they monitor for additional cases. And baseball commissioner Rob Manfred, he has a mandatory vaccination policy for folks that work in his office that hasn't trickled down to the individual franchises, and a lot of that has to do with these player unions. So what we're seeing here is being mimicked across sports leagues from the NFL, the NBA, etc. And it's a matter of them trying to manage keeping the players, the fans, their staff safe while also being able to still play. And, you know, Joe, the NFL just recently enacting that new vaccination policy for this upcoming season. So we'll have to wait and see if the MLB and other leagues follow suit.
Janelle, have you heard anything as far as the Nationals go? How many of those staff and players had been vaccinated?
Well, Joe, according to the league, they're saying that 3 of those players actually were vaccinated, and these may have been breakthrough cases, which, you know, is not unheard of, especially with the rapidly spreading Delta variant.
All right. Janelle, thank you very much for that live update for us. Former Cardinal Theodore McCarrick charged with molesting a 16-year-old boy in 1974. The disturbing trend that continues for the Catholic Church. And we'll revisit the border as migrants come in record numbers. The White House unveiled its plan today to combat the surge, but without a clear-cut timeline, is the problem set to get worse before it gets better? Don't forget, you can follow us on social media at the Donlon Report on Twitter. Former Roman Catholic Cardinal Theodore McCarrick has been charged, accused of sexually abusing a minor. The criminal complaint makes McCarrick the highest-ranking Catholic official in the U.S. to face such charges in the sex abuse crisis plaguing the church. Joining me now for more on this, News Nation's Leland Vittert, host of On Balance.
Great to talk to you. Yeah, this is an incredible story because Theodore McCarrick's 91 years old.
Right.
This case goes back to 1974. Remember, he'd already been thrown out of the Catholic Church by Pope Francis for not only abusing minors, but also abusing adults who were in the seminary, all men. The fact now that he's being charged with a crime that's more than 40 years old is the first time you're having somebody of his rank, a cardinal, which is one down from the Pope, being charged.
So I'm sure people will hear that and wonder about the statute of limitations.
Exactly. And the statute of limitations in a number of states have changed because of the priest abuse scandal. And it has to do with the fact that it was in Massachusetts, but McCarrick is now living in Missouri, and they were able to bring him out. This is video of when he was the Archbishop and Cardinal in Washington, D.C. He was one of the most powerful Americans in the Catholic Church, very close to John Paul II, this very big character in the Catholic Church. And remember, he was investigated and thrown out by Pope Francis.
That was in 2019.
That was a couple of years ago. And now this is the first criminal charges against him. He's going to be in court September 3rd. But you can just imagine how much this case will depend on the testimony of the young victim. Now, 40 years later, there's not going to be any physical evidence. We have a statement from Mitch Garabindi, who was the attorney in the movie Spotlight that highlighted the abuse in the Roman Catholic Church. Historically, this is the first time ever in the United States that a cardinal has been criminally charged with a sexual crime against a minor. It takes an enormous amount of courage for a sexual abuse victim to report having been sexually abused to investigators and proceed through the criminal process. Let the facts be presented, the law applied, and a fair verdict rendered. You're going to have a 91 or 92-year-old former Catholic cardinal now in handcuffs, arraigned in 2 months.
And September, right? Is that when you said?
September 3rd.
All right. Leland Vittert, thanks very much. More coming up tonight at the top of the hour. It's called On Balance. That's Leland's show. It airs right after our program here, News Nation, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central. Stay tuned for that. Leland, thanks again. Vice President Kamala Harris has just released a sweeping strategy to address the root causes of immigration to the southern border, something the Biden administration has been focusing on as the primary battle in stemming the ongoing border crisis. The strategy is focused on a number of issues affecting these countries in South and Central America from which these migrants are primarily coming. Reasons like economic insecurity, corruption, violence, and more. But the 18-page report contains few details as far as how the administration is actually going to fix any of these things. Joining me now, former acting DHS Deputy Chief of Staff, Laura Reese. Laura, let's start right there with that. The focus has been for the Biden administration on the root cause. That's what they set Kamala Harris out to address. And it's part of the problem and part of the plan, clearly. A long-term plan, I guess some would argue. And even the vice president admits that this is going to take some time. Where do you think the focus should be, though, right now?
So the biggest cause that the administration is ignoring is the messaging and the policies that the Biden administration has set. That is drawing and is the biggest draw for the historic numbers of illegal aliens that we are seeing right now at the southern border. The administration wants to focus on what it calls the root causes, but really its reaction to that and its plan is to throw more money at Central American countries. That hasn't worked for decades, and it's not going to work this time either.
So what I'm confused about here, Laura, is what's different from the surge in 2019? Because we know that unaccompanied minors, we have, I think, 15,000 in our custody right now. And that number was as high as 70 or 80, starting back, 1,000 that is, back in January. Back in 2019, there was also this issue of families still seeking to come in like they are now. The difference is, I guess, single adults are being turned back now, not families as much as they were in 19. Where is the issue that's different from 19 and now?
Well, the biggest difference is that this administration is allowing the families and the children to come in. Under the
But
Trump
they were in 19 as well, though, weren't they, Laura?
Well, the Trump administration put into place policies to secure the border, including the Remain in Mexico program, which allowed people to apply for asylum, but they had to wait on the Mexican side of the border while their case was proceeding. And once migrants learned that claiming fear wasn't their ticket to get into the U.S. and to disappear into the interior, the caravans of illegal immigrants stopped coming. In addition to that, the Trump administration made agreements with the governments of Mexico and the Northern Triangle countries to enforce their respective borders, to beef up their asylum systems, and to take nationals back if they skipped through and didn't seek asylum until they came to the U.S.
So I know that the Biden administration also has left Title 42, which former President Trump had used as well, in place and talked about maybe removing it, but is leaving it in place now as a result of the COVID surge at the border. And he's also announced faster deportations for families that don't qualify for amnesty. Do you think that will work? And I guess my final question is, why is so much of this on the president? Why isn't Congress addressing it? We don't ever hear about that.
So Title 42, which was put into place by the CDC, is a needed public health tool, and it allows the Customs and Border Protection agents to turn back migrants to protect the health of Americans, including the border agents themselves. The Biden administration has been using it very inconsistently. They've not been using it with children. They've been spotty and using it with families. They are eager to rescind that tool because many in the left and the advocacy groups view it as an obstacle to allowing even more illegal immigrants into the country. With respect to expedited removal, that is a signal by this administration that it will soon terminate the Title 42 COVID health restriction.
Right. They were planning to do that soon and then put it on hold, at least for now. Laura, quickly before we let you go, how about Congress? Is it up to them to ultimately fix this?
So Congress needs to close some loopholes, including benefits for unaccompanied alien children based on them being children. What Congress should not be doing is giving money to the administration to continue to quickly process in more illegal immigrants. And Congress should not be voting for amnesty for many millions of illegal immigrants who are here, because it just encourages more illegal immigration, which we are seeing play out every day at the border right now.
Laura Reese, former DHS Acting Deputy Chief of Staff, we appreciate your time and insight. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
After Simone Biles bowed out of 2 Olympic events, it was her teammates who dedicated their performance to Biles, and one went on to win gold. I'll speak with former Olympian and gold medal winner Scott Hamilton about Biles' journey and the pressure of a country on your shoulders, or in his case, his skates. We'll talk to Scott next. And you've heard of Bitcoin. How about Miami Coin? And it's not from Grand Theft Auto, Vice City. But is it make-believe? No. A lot of questions there. We'll answer them ahead. Olympic gymnast Suni Lee has claimed gold at the Tokyo Games, proving Team USA has more than one superstar. Certainly cause for celebration. Lee's victory has been largely overshadowed, though, by her teammate Simone Biles' absence. Biles withdrew from the Games earlier this week, citing mental health challenges. Joining me now, an Olympic gold medalist himself, figure skater Scott Hamilton. Scott, I'm a huge fan of your work as an athlete, as an analyst. It's great to have you on with us tonight. Speaking of analysis, what did you make of this decision by Simone, and what was your response when you heard about it?
Well, it's shocking, and it's one of those things that causes great debate. I know that everyone has an opinion. I've heard very many sympathetic, many judgmental. But I'll just tell everybody, just take a step back. And it's really hard to judge someone when you can't walk one step in their shoes. It's the Olympic stage it's unbelievable, and it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger with the demands of television and everything else. And I was shocked when Simone pulled out, because she is arguably, if you take Nadia Comaneci out of the equation, she is arguably the greatest gymnast of all time. Right. And so for this to happen, I mean, there's always question, how, why, who, what. And it's just, only she knows. I mean, she's the only one, because she's trained her whole life for this moment. And the last thing you'd want to do is to step away.
Right, at that point.
There was so much at stake.
Yeah, Scott, there was something that caught my eye. I mean, she dropped the clue earlier in the week when she said she felt the weight of the world on her shoulders. And that should have been perhaps a clue or a red flag. But what else caught my eye was that she said we should be out here having fun and sometimes that's not the case. What does that say to you?
Well, I guess in so many respects, when we train for that moment, there's nothing different except for the rings that are there and a lot of the demands that media puts onto us. And, there's a lot of expectation. I was told by the media when I went in for my Olympics that if I didn't win, it was a failure. I had lost a competition in 3 years. And it was kind of like, really? Because I'm looking at this as it's unique. It's the Olympic Games. Right. And so for me, it felt a little bit more like a gauntlet than anything else. But I prepared, and I really wanted my training to represent my preparation. I tried not to let all my coach called them fruit flies. I didn't want the fruit flies to kind of get in my way and prevent me from being successful. So you've got to be myopic in that moment. You've got to be able to just that I've trained on these apparatus. I've trained on this. I prepared myself to be in this moment and to just push everything else away. And if you can't do that, I mean, for someone in her position, I would think that she would be able to. But I've seen a lot of things in my years. Midori Ito from Japan was expected to win the Olympic gold medal in 1992. And I saw it. Every single day, the press was honor. And she couldn't escape, and it crushed her. So I've seen it happen to other athletes. It's not unique. And I will say to Simone, though, Janet Lynn told me a long time ago that whatever you earn is yours for the rest of your life, and whatever's next is next. And I hope this doesn't diminish or tarnish her achievements.
Well, do you think it ends here, Scott? Because you're right. No one can take away from her what she's accomplished. But knowing who she is and what she's done, it seems like this would be a hard way for her to call it a career.
It would be a tragedy in a way. But, our lives are our lives to manage, and they're our lives to we determine whether we're a success or a failure, right? I mean, that's up to us to kind of take a step back and say, I did the best I could, or I could have done better, or I would have, could have, should have, whatever that is, if there's regret. But the Olympic stage is unique. And I think for Simone, she may second guess this, maybe, but we can't really judge because we're not in her position, nor could anyone be, because of everything that was at stake and all the expectations and all the focus and everything that was put on her. I've seen it happen to other athletes.
Man, it's great to have you, Scott. It really is. It makes me want to watch figure skating. You really did you did such great work, and it made it so much fun to watch the Olympics. Again, thanks for your time. It's wonderful having you.
Thank you so much.
City of Miami, Florida is making plans to unveil a new cryptocurrency, Miami Coin. And the city could potentially make millions from this new currency. Joining me now, News Nation's Adrian Bankert. I have a lot of questions about this.
I know you do, and I'm going to try to answer all of them. But
how does this work?
Well, here's the deal. CityCoin, this company, decided to create this new token, new currency in the crypto space called CityCoin. And now they're going to individually apply currencies to different cities. So Miami would have a totally different currency than, say, San Francisco, that's reportedly next on the list.
So how do you get the currency?
Well, it's through this CityCoin app. It launches on August 3rd, I believe. And the fact is that the city is hoping that it will generate income, not just for the individual who gets access to this CityCoin, who buys a CityCoin and mines the CityCoin.
So is it that way? It's not a physical coin?
It's a digital coin. It's just like Bitcoin.
Digital coin, not physical.
I mean, again, a lot of questions are surrounding exactly how this is going to work because it's brand new, but it is adjacent to the Bitcoin currency.
But the thing that makes this so unique and interesting and effective is the fact that Miami makes money off the money. Explain
30% of every, of all the revenue is going to the city, and actually it's going to be donated to Miami as a charitable gift. It's just this is the process that they've created through CityCoin. And so 70% goes to you if you're an investor in CityCoin, and 30% goes to Miami. And their hope is that they'll use those funds for infrastructure projects, to get more police on the police force, to eradicate homelessness.
It's brilliant. I can't believe someone hasn't thought of this before for the city aspect of it. Anyway.
Yeah, and really it can be somewhere you live. It can be somewhere that you appreciate. You love this locale. You're from from Los Angeles, but you live across the country, but you decide to purchase cryptocurrency specific to Los Angeles. Now, LA's not on the list yet. Right now, only Miami. Right. But again, we could see it spread. They want to do it all around the world.
When is it start?
Next week, August 3rd.
Wow. Well, we'll see how it goes. It's interesting. Adrienne, thanks for the time.
No
Good
problem.
to see you. After unveiling a new nuclear sub this week and a fighter jet called Checkmate last week, what is Russian President Vladimir Putin up to? I'll ask an expert. And after President Biden made a pit stop in his state, I'll speak with a Pennsylvania Senate candidate who says more is needed in the Keystone State. We return now to the Russian military and Vladimir Putin. President Putin bragging at what they call Navy Day that the Russian Navy can launch what he called an unpreventable strike. That followed more show intel that featured a new fighter jet called Checkmate. So is it Checkmate? Rebecca Kaufman is a Russian-born U.S. intelligence expert and author of Putin's Playbook, Russia's secret plan to defeat America. And she joins us live right now. It's great to have you, Rebecca. I guess my first question is, what's the one thing everyone should understand about Putin's playbook? Rule number one.
Great to be here, Joe. Thank you for having me. So Putin has developed a whole master plan to undermine America. And the cyber attacks that we see and other offensive operations are just a small tip of the iceberg. So I've written the book to reveal the entire arsenal that Putin has to undermine and if necessary, defeat our country.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that because it's interesting. You used the word undermine, but the subtitle of the book is Russia's secret plan to defeat America. What do you mean when you say defeat America?
Right. So there's a whole strategy that the Russian military and Russian intelligence services have developed to fight the conflict just below the threshold of a military response, that they are concerned that we could deliver to them if they cross that threshold. So by defeat, what they mean is subvert the country, destabilize by using such methods as election interference and a whole host of other things. But if a military response is coming at them, they're actually prepared to fight a war and win it on terms favorable to Russia. That's the master plan.
You know, I was interested as I read your bio. You've led red teams during war games. What did you learn through that experience about Russia and how that would go?
What I have learned is that, alarmingly, we as a country, and specifically our national security apparatus, are not really ready to take on Russia, and we're not prepared to deal with the Russian threat. It is because we have not done our homework. We sort of have fallen asleep at the wheel, if you will, because we haven't paid attention to Russia for a long time. We've been dealing with terrorism and a lot of other things, and in the meantime, Putin has modernized its military and has developed a whole range of what he calls asymmetric capabilities that is very difficult for us to respond to. And we see that because we're not responding forcefully to the recent cyber attacks from Russia.
Rebecca Kaufman, formerly the CIA and Defense Intelligence Agency, also author of the new book, Putin's Playbook. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Now to electoral politics. A self-described centrist calling himself never Trump and never socialist, running for Senate in Pennsylvania as a Republican. Craig Snyder, a former chief of staff for former U.S. Senator Arlen Specter, announcing his campaign in a video. However, Senator Specter, Snyder's one-time boss, was a Democrat from 51 to 65, then became a Republican and then switched back again to Democrat. Snyder also started a political action committee that aimed to get Democrat Hillary Clinton elected president. Many people yearn for moderation today, less partisanship. What exactly does never Trump and never socialist mean? Well, let's ask him. He joins us right now. It's great to have you with us, Craig. That is the first question, I guess, and I'll let you answer that. What do you mean? How do you describe yourself?
Well, I think the majority of Americans and certainly a plurality of people who are registered Republicans today in Pennsylvania think of themselves as a kind of whispering majority. They see extremists as I view it, and I think as other people view it, on both the right and the left, between the MAGA on the one side and the woke progressives on the other, and they don't agree with a lot of what's going on in the country. They yearn for what I call common sense conservatism, and that's what my campaign plans to mobilize.
You've been in politics a long time, Craig. I don't need to tell you. You find the centrist idea here in Pennsylvania might work for you, but you have to win a Republican primary. How do you do it?
Well, look, Donald Trump won the Republican primaries for president in 2016 by being the one who was different from all the others, right? There were a large group of conventional Republicans, traditional Republicans, who were splitting that vote. And so Trump was able to get pluralities in those primaries all the way up until the end when everybody else had dropped out. In my race, it's just a mirror image, the flip side of that. There is a majority of registered Republicans who support President Trump in Pennsylvania, but that majority is going to be divided 5 or 6 ways by different candidates, and I'm going to be able to have a clear path towards all those who want a post-Trump future.
If they split the vote, I guess. So I'm sure you'll hear about your connection to Arlen Specter. We talked a little bit about his party. We talked about your super PAC in 2016 in support of Hillary Clinton. How do Republicans know they can trust you in this primary?
Well, those Republicans who are looking for what I call a traditional conservative, a common sense conservative, are going to see that in my record. Look, when Senator Specter decided he was going to leave the party in 2009, I talked to him about it. He was a friend and mentor. I advised him against it. He left, and I didn't follow him out. I stayed a Republican because I believe you can persuade people, and that's what this campaign is about: is mobilizing and persuading people to a kind of politics that's more civil and more thoughtful than what we're seeing from either extreme today.
So how does your connection, do you think, Craig, to Philadelphia come into play here for you? Help you or hurt you? It's interesting to me, as we all know and certainly learned in 2020, not exactly a GOP-friendly city, and it was in the end instrumental in electing Joe Biden.
Well, actually, the truth is Donald Trump did better in the city of Philadelphia in 2020 than he did in 2016. There are Republicans in Philadelphia, but more to the point, in the greater Philadelphia area, including our suburbs, about a third of all Pennsylvania primary voters, Pennsylvania Republicans, live in the Philadelphia area. So I think that's a real strength for me to come from this southeastern region. But there are also moderate Republicans, centrist Republicans who live all across the state in other communities, and we're going to reach out to all of them.
Let's talk about the video we're seeing here from January 6th. Will that be a part of your campaign at all?
Yes. I believe that every candidate, not only in Pennsylvania, but across the country, who's running for the Congress, for the Senate, every Republican candidate needs to be asked 2 questions. One, who won the 2020 presidential election? Is it Joe Biden or Donald Trump? Number 2, was the January 6th events, were they a violent attempt to alter and impede American electoral process? The answer to both of those questions has to be yes. It has to be unequivocal. It can't be, well, we're still thinking about it. And if it's not, I think it's disqualifying.
Well, what do you make of what's happening right now, considering the House and their January 6th committee? You've heard the partisan divide already, and they're calling the 2 Republicans who are on that committee Pelosi Republicans.
There are some folks that are calling them that. There are other folks that are calling them courageous heroes. I'm in that latter camp. And I think, again, that there are a lot of people who are in this camp who have been who have felt themselves silenced by the screaming that comes from both extremes. It's time to stand up and be heard.
Yeah, so you've been an outspoken critic of the Trumpist party. So if you win, you know and realize you'll be working with a lot of his supporters. How do you do that?
when you win, you represent everybody. You represent the people who vote for you, the people who voted against you, and that's absolutely would be my task. Look, we saw in Congress today something we haven't seen in a while. We need to see a lot more of, and that's governing governing coalition. 67 votes for this infrastructure package to proceed to the floor. That used to be regular. It used to be something that was done all the time, and it can be again. There are ideas on healthcare, on environment, you name it, that could garner that kind of bipartisan majority if somebody was leading the way. And I'd like to participate in that effort.
Predictions for control of the House and Senate next year?
No, we'll let the voters decide.
I love it. All right, Craig Snyder, candidate for Senate in Pennsylvania. We will certainly be keeping an eye on your race. We appreciate the time.
I appreciate you having me.
Air traffic control at LAX reported an unidentified flying object. Is it a bird, a plane, or something else entirely? That's coming up. Don't forget you can follow us on social media at the Donlon Report on Twitter.